Hey guys, Frosted Knives here, and today, you wanted it, let's talk spoilers about the Dark Tower movie. Now, you asked for it, I waited a little while, make sure everybody had a chance to see it. Everybody has had about 3 weeks or so since it's been out to see it. So, but you wanted me to do a spoiler one, and we're going to do a spoiler one, and we're going to talk dirty nitty-gritty about the Tower movie. So, here's your last chance. We are about to hit spoiler land in 5, 4, 3, 2, never the one. Okay, here we are. Spoiler alert. Dark Tower. So, the Dark Tower, I had mentioned in my review that it throws a lot at you and it doesn't always explain it, the mythology, but it puts it in the movie. So the first thing that I saw that I chuckled at was the credits would roll at the beginning and it said Sony Pictures, and then it said in association with, and it said the Tet Corporation, and there was a nice picture of a turtle. You wouldn't know what that means unless you read the books, but I chuckled at it. So let's talk the story of the Tower. So first off, let's talk a little bit about the character of Jake, because the character of Jake isn't just Jake from the books. Jake in the movie is an amalgamation, a combination of different characters. He's part Jake, he's part Patrick Danville because of all of his drawings, and he's part Danny Torrance because he has the shining. He has the shine. He is a high-level psychic, which makes him a high-level breaker, which makes him very much sought after by the Man in Black. And that's really the story. His backstory is a little different. His father isn't, like in the books, his father was part of a TV, he was a TV executive. His real father was a firefighter. In the movie, he died. His mom got remarried. His stepfather's a dickhole. You know, that kind of backstory. He's having dreams. He's going to a shrink because they think it's because his father died. He's having all kinds of weird dreams. There's earthquakes going on in New York that we know are beamquakes, but they don't know it yet. And he just keeps having these dreams about the Man in Black, the gunslinger, and the Dark Tower. And that is really Randall Flagg's point in the book, in the movie. They never call him Randall Flagg. They call him Walter like twice. They usually call him the Man in Black, but a couple times they call him Walter, which people kind of chuckle because, you know, he's a Walter. But in the movie, he's in Thunderclap. He's at the Devar Toy. He's at, what do they call it in the book? Blue Heaven, where all the breakers are. That's where he is. He's overseeing the breakers with the Taheen, with the low men. And it's his job to send out his little low men to go out and find breakers because they're the ones that are breaking the tower. And you see, you know, the compound where the breakers live, and you see the contraptions and how it sucks out all the psychic energy out of their heads. And in the movie, instead of attacking the beams that are actually holding the tower up, the psychic funnel energy that comes out of their little heads is attacking the tower itself. Even though Roland calls them beamquakes, the earthquakes that are going on. And so Jake is having dreams about this other world that people are telling him it's just nightmares. He thinks is real. He finally goes. He finally goes to Dutch Hill, to the house on Dutch Hill. There's a portal there, and he winds up in Midworld. And then Walter realizes that, you know, because he's got his low men scouring the universes for breakers, for kids with psychic ability. And Jake keeps evading the low men because he's a high-level psychic. And so, you know, Randall Flagg realizes who Jake is, and he wants him, and then he goes after him for being a breaker. And so Jake gets into Midworld. He meets Roland, tells him all about what's going on. Roland says, well, there's a village and a seer that can interpret your dreams. He goes to a Man-Eye village, you know, down the way. They interpret the dreams. They tell him, the seer in the village tells Jake and tells Roland where this place that Jake is seeing is. And he says, well, that's a 6-month walk. You know, how I can't get there in that time for Roland. And they say, well, you can use the portals. And so Roland figures out that there's a portal in our world that goes directly to where Flagg is at the Devar Toy. So Jake and Roland come to our world, and they wind up going to the Dixie Pig because that's where the portal is, and that's how they get to Flagg. So, I mean, it's fairly simple, right? It's a fairly simple story. So what are the differences and what are the similarities and what's going on? Well, first of all, there is no mention of the Crimson King in the movie. Outside of one blurb when Jake goes into the house on Dutch Hill, and on the wall it's spray painted "All Hail the Crimson King." That's the only mention of the Crimson King in the movie. So there's really no indication that Flag is working for anybody else, that there is a king above him. They don't really talk about that other than the blurb. As we talked about in the other review, Roland is a very broken gunslinger. He doesn't care about the tower anymore when Jake meets him. All he cares about is killing Flag. He's killing the Man in Black. That's all he cares about. And over the course of the movie, Jake has to remind him what it means to be a gunslinger. So, you know, there are low men in the Taheen, in the Devar Toy, and in Earth, and everything. They don't. Roland called them Taheen once. I think other people call them like skin men or something like that. But they never really called them low men, and they never really called them. I think Roland said they were Taheen one time. Everything in the movie is like one time. If you don't hear it, you miss it. You know, one time kind of thing. They call it Keystone Earth through the whole movie, but they never explain why it's called Keystone Earth, except one time when Roland is trying to explain the multiverse to Jake. He says, you know, there's your world and there's our world and there's many other worlds. And that's it. Never really talks about the multiverse and talks about the tower holding everything up. In the movie, Flag has all of the bends of the rainbow. He uses the pink grapefruit to track Roland because they use Jake's shine as a beacon. So whenever he uses the shine, they can sort of pinpoint where he is. So he uses the pink grapefruit as a way to track Roland, to find out where Roland and Jake are. And then he uses Black 13. He does have Black 13, and he uses it to communicate to Roland. He sends like a little hologram of himself. And that's how he talks to Roland, is through Black 13. So there is that. They do make mention at one point, Flag does, that Roland is the last in the line of Arthur Eld, and that his guns were actually Excalibur that had been melted down to make the guns, the gunslinger guns. They mentioned that one time. The difference is in the books, Flag tells Roland, because Flag tries to shoot him in the books, and in the books, Flag says, you can't kill me with the books, with your guns. The guns are enchanted against me, and they can't kill me. So in the books, Roland's guns can't kill Flag. In the movie, Roland put a bullet through Flag's head. And that was the final confrontation in the Breaker compound, because they finally succeeded in kidnapping Jake, and they strapped him in, they're using him to break the tower, and Roland comes to save him. And there's a big battle and a gunfight and whatever, and then Roland actually does wind up killing Flag. I don't know if he's dead, but he shoots him like through the chest, and then he puts a bullet through the middle of his forehead, and that's all we know. And then Flag goes down, and then he shoots up the compound with all the machines in it, and he rescues Jake, and they go off happily ever after. I don't really know if Flag is dead or whatever. In the movie, Roland. They do come to our world. It's a very, very small version of what happened in Drawing of the Three, because they come into our world. You know, there was a gunfight in the Manai village. The Taheen were after them. There was a big battle. Roland gets wounded. They go through the portal. They come into our world. Roland is wounded. He has to go to a doctor. He has to get antibiotics. And so he goes. Jake brings him to the hospital. He gets treated. Then he brings him to a gun shop so he can get more bullets. And then he introduces him to Sugar, which Roland thinks is the shit, just like in the books. So that part of the movie was a very small version of the Drawing of the Three. Very, very small, condensed version where Roland has to come into our world, get the antibiotics, get some more ammunition for his guns. He gets some popkins. They don't call them popkins in the movie, but he gets some of our food, and he gets introduced to Sugar, and he thinks Sugar is the greatest thing in the world. How come it's not illegal? Because it should be. And then, so when he's in our world, Jake gets kidnapped, right? I said Jake gets kidnapped, and he gets brought to Flag, and he gets strapped into the machine. Well, in order to go rescue him, Roland has to go through the Dixie Pig. And he basically, it's Roland against everybody in the Dixie Pig, and there's a giant shootout where Roland slaughters everyone in the Dixie Pig to get to the portal that it will take him to Flag. And that part was pretty cool. They don't tell you in the movie that the Dixie Pig is made up of vampires and low men. They don't say that, even though in the credits, a couple of people are credited as lead vampire. But they don't ever tell you that in the movie. You know that they're vampires, and you know that they're low men in the Dixie Pig, but they don't tell you that in the movie. And I wish that, you know, they kind of explain a little bit more some of this stuff, but they don't really explain it. So he goes through the Dixie Pig. He fights Flag. He seemingly kills Flag. He rescues Jake. He basically destroys the Breaker compound. He brings Jake back to our world. Oh yeah, and Flag kills Jake's parents too. Flag winds up killing Jake's parents in the movie just because he's looking for information on where Jake is. So, I mean, it's sad that he killed his mom, but no one really cared that the douchebag stepdad died. So after he rescues Jake, he brings Jake back to his world, Keystone Earth, and Roland says, I gotta go. And they basically go with the whole, well, there's nothing left for you here. It's the whole Luke Skywalker thing. Well, there's nothing left for me here. I may as well go with you. And then Roland and Flag go through a portal in our world, presumably back to Midworld. And on the portal, right next to it, there's a picture of a giant rose. So there's a lot of things that they put in. It's basically a very simple story. He's having dreams. He gets to Midworld. He realizes he's a breaker. They're after him. He's trying to break down the tower. They don't really explain, you know, Jake asks, why is the man in black trying to destroy the tower? And it's basically, he says, because he's trying to let the chaos in. And that's kind of the reason that they're doing it. They're trying to let the creatures from outside the universe in so that they can rule in chaos. You know, there's no mention of anybody else. There's no mention of any of the drawing of any of the other people. There's no mention of the Crimson King other than a blurb on a wall. There's a lot of cameos that you can kind of see. Like, there's a reference to The Shining. There's a reference to the Overlook Hotel. There's a reference to Cujo. There's a reference to Christine. There's a reference to 1408. There's a reference to It. The numbers 19 are everywhere in the movie. So there's lots of references that you can see, but they don't ever explain it. You just see them and you go, oh, I know what that is. So that's pretty much it. Like I said before, it was really like the first book of the Gunslinger, the Wasteland book part of the Gunslinger, just the part where Jake's trying to get back to Midworld, the last book of the Dark Tower series where the battle is at Thunderclap or the Devar-Toi or Blue Heaven or whatever they're calling it. A smattering of a little bit, you know. They go to a Man-Eye village in the movie. They see a seer. They talk about Jake's dreams. You get to see some of the creatures from the other world, you know, coming in and Roland fighting. A lot of Roland doing some gun work, which was pretty cool. You get to see the showdown at the Dixie Pig. You get to see the Breakers, although they don't. Outside of, I need kids with psychic abilities to destroy the tower, that's really all you get for the Breakers. That's really all you get. And the movie does leave you hanging in some regards. Is Flag dead? We don't know. He destroyed the Breaker equipment. So what happens now? Is the tower fixed? We don't know. What's Roland's quest now? We don't know. Where are Jake and Roland going? We don't know. What happened to the Breaker kids? We don't know. They're just going to leave the Bends of the Rainbow there, apparently. You know, we don't know. And what happens to all the portals and all the machines? We don't know. Everybody in the Dixie Pig is dead, so that kind of got taken care of. But it leaves you with what happens with everybody, with all these other things, and we don't know. We have no idea. Overall, though, I still think it was a good movie. I do. I still think it was a decent attempt at what they were trying to do. Hopefully, there will be a TV series to flesh some of this out. Although I don't know where they're going to go now, because Roland's quest for the tower is seemingly over. So unless Flag is not dead, and we know, having read the books, that Flag has a way of not dying. He didn't die in The Stand. He did die in the Dark Tower books. He got eaten by Mordred, which I thought was a shitty death. He at least got a better death in the movie, and I appreciate that. So we don't know. We don't know where they're going to go. We just know that at the end of the movie, Roland saves the tower, Roland saves the boy, and they go walking off into the sunset. And who the hell knows where they go from there? I don't know. It kind of, it leaves it open for possibilities, but if they go nowhere, it doesn't leave you with a cliffhanger, so you're not expecting something. It is an ending. It is a definitive ending. And it can go places. There are possibilities. But if it doesn't go any place, at least we didn't get left with a cliffhanger. So it is an open and closed movie with a beginning, a middle, and an end. There are avenues for it to go and further, but if it never goes any further, we have a movie with an ending. And we're never left wondering, really. No big old cliffhangers. So there's my spoiler talk. I wish they had explained some things more. They do explain things in like one sentences. Boom, and that's it. And there's a lot that they don't explain, like the Tech Corporation, like the Dixie Pig, like the vampires and the low men. They don't really explain all this stuff. They don't explain what Keystone Earth is. They don't explain what the little things are that Flag is using to talk to Roland. They don't explain a lot. Maybe they don't have to. I don't know, but they don't. Although those of us that have read the books know exactly what we're watching. So there is my spoiler talk for the Dark Tower movie. And the next one that we're going to be doing, as far as movies are going, because I'm still going to be reviewing books, but the next movies that are coming down the pike is It, at September 8th, and holy hell, that's going to be one hell of a ride. And I am super excited about It, the movie, because it looks phenomenal. It looks phenomenal. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, comment below, and I will see you in the next video.